Disney. They used to be good at this, didn't they?
I mean, going from captivating, creative ideas to literally just giving us the same movie but without the charm. From timeless, unforgettable stories to, I still don't even remember that happening. And from a genius, well-structured franchise to whatever that was.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Disney is a company full of polar opposites in their entertainment, and this has really become more prevalent lately with their habit for milking entertainment, for some reason.
Seriously, how much money do you need?
However, one of their most bizarre and desperate attempts for any last drop of creativity they had was literally making movies off of their rides.
Because why not?
Although, with as crazy as that sounds, they were able to land a hit with their iconic franchise, Pirates of the Caribbean.
And it makes sense.
If you think about it, this is really the only high-budget pirate film and franchise. At least the first one that comes to mind. Which is honestly kind of surprising that it took this long for something like that to happen. But either way, Disney got to it first. However, this franchise has had a very slow death as it went on.
And now we're kind of at an awkward time where they don't really know what to do with it. No one really definitively knows how they feel about it. Give it up, stuffed animal. Don't you know that the first one is the only good one?
Bro, the whole first trilogy is the only one that matters. It went off the rails after that.
Well, at least On Stranger Tides had a leaner, less convoluted plot than those.
That one sucks though. Even the fifth one is better than that.
There's a fifth one? Alright, hold on. Stay out of this.
What the?
You can't change my opinion at all. I wasn't going to.
Yeah, well, me neither.
I wasn't going to. Or mine. Do you even know what we're talking about? Something about pickles, right? Wait, hold on. Did you just say that you're not going to try and change our minds? No, I'm not, because I know you guys are very passionate about your opinions, and mine is pretty unpopular.
Out of all 5 of them, really? But anyway, out of all of those, Outworld is my absolute favorite. Even when I was younger watching these movies, this one always just hit me in a way that none of the others have. Which is weird, because one of the main criticisms is that it has an overly confusing and convoluted plot.
Which, I guess is just Gore Verbinski's style at this point.
But even with the pretty low ratings, it still made Disney bank, and is still one of the most expensive and longest films of theirs to date. Really before Marvel just completely took everything over.
But with all that, there are so many reasons why this is by far my favorite of the franchise. Yeah, but just like The Lone Ranger, it's way too overcomplicated. Okay. To be fair, I will agree. However, while that was just being overcomplicated for the sake of being overcomplicated, here, I think it makes total sense.
Keep in mind, this was the last film of the trilogy, so they had to go all in for the finale.
And by God, do they go all in. We'll get to it.
But with that pressure on it, the worst thing possible for them to do would just be make an underwhelming ending, because we've all seen what happens with that.
Ray Skywalker.
So yes, they really had to up the spectacle to 11.
And if you think about it, there was really nowhere else for the story to go other than this.
The first movie to a lot of people is the best because it's very straightforward, fun, and easy to watch. And yes, I do agree, it is a lot of fun.
However, you're looking at the guy who loves BVS over the Marvel films, so just keep that in mind.
So I already preferred these deeper, more intricate stories anyway. But with the first film, they had already used a lot of the traditional pirate tropes. Walking the plank, getting marooned in an island, and big ship-on-ship combat. And I guarantee you, if they would have just given us the same thing, it would have been rated lower. So there was nowhere else to go but up.
And again, by God, did they go up.
Outworld's End is some of the most beautiful and creative shots in the whole franchise. If you told me to name a shot off the top of my head from one of the other films, especially the ones that most have shunned from society, I would have to think a little bit harder. But if you told me to name one from the franchise as a whole, I would easily think Outworld's End. I mean, from the breathtaking up is down scene to the sweeping western style standoff to the iconic and intense maelstrom, it's just so good.
Although, at the end of the day, a shot is a shot, and with a budget like this, then it really should be expected. Okay, yeah, whatever, now talk about the overly confusing story. Shut it, okay, just let me have this one, we'll get to it.
Now, I will say, compared to the other ones, there isn't tons of consistent action throughout the movie. Besides the pretty strong and exciting opening in Singapore, not a whole lot in terms of the classic swashbuckling action happens consistently. Keyword, consistently. And with a budget like that, then you're bound to eventually get action, right?
Why are you all looking at me like that? You know why. No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Did you just use the same clip of you saying that?
Fine, okay. The ending, it's pretty awesome. Of course, it's freaking awesome.
I mean, from the Black Pearl and Dutchman circling the maelstrom, to Will and Elizabeth getting married in the fight because, like, why not? To the icon himself, Barbossa, marrying them while slaughtering fish people because, again, like, why not? To the legendary fight between Davy Jones and Jack Sparrow on the top of the ship.
I mean, even if the 2 hours that preceded this or whatever were the most boring 2 hours of your life, this finale would still be worth the price of admission alone.
The only word you can use to describe something like this is epic. And that is something that I think slightly lacks in the first two. Yeah, they're really fun, especially the first, but don't even come at me trying to compare the two. I'm not kidding, when I was younger and watched this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in film.
And honestly, still to this day, I'm not really even sure if there's anything that tops it.
Did I fully understand the plot as a kid? No. Did it matter? Absolutely not. And oh my gosh, Hans Zimmer's epic and beautiful score just brings it to that next level.
First of all, he's my favorite composer by far.
I mean, from BVS to Interstellar to The Lone Ranger to even Kung Fu Panda of all things, I legitimately cannot think of a score he's done that hasn't given me chills. Even though John Williams has created some of the most iconic scores ever, Hans Zimmer just manages to bring in that extra emotion and intensity compared to Williams.
And out of all the Pirates of the Caribbean films, Outworld's End has the best score.
I don't really know how else to describe it, other than that this one sounds the most pirate. I mean, the first two were great, but he manages to add in songs that are more grounded and just sounds like something pirates would actually play, like Up is Down in particular. And we even get some thrown in Western style music, which was a great surprise, and probably just a warm up for Zimmer for scoring Rango and The Lone Ranger. But don't get me wrong, he also ups the grand and emotional scores even higher.
And it perfectly matches with the movie's grand and emotional finale. Okay, what are you doing? You know, Ryan, I like you. I mean, this is fun, right? You seem like a good guy.
Yeah.
Man, now I really want pickles. Just shut up. Okay, whatever. Now, you know, we've had our fun now, but yeah, get to why this movie sucks so much. Okay, yes. We've made it to discussing the plot. Great. Now start talking about why it's so overly convoluted. Is it though? Yes. Is it though? Maybe. Okay.
Alright, so let's get down to business. Do I think this movie could have been shorter? Absolutely. Does it hurt the film in any way? Not necessarily.
If you really think about it, the plot is pretty straightforward.
Captain Barbossa and his crew have to assemble the 9 pirate lords to stop Davy Jones. Okay.
Okay, first of all, you're summarizing that way too much. Yes, that is why it is called a summary.
Even in the beginning, when they haven't even gotten the leading character, Jack Sparrow, it's still really fun to watch.
Because, let me tell you, Barbossa completely steals the show.
I mean, he went from a villain to a cameo to completely stealing the show.
Now that's range.
And even better, when they save Jack Sparrow from Davy Jones' locker. After, of course, we just get Johnny Depp being Johnny Depp. In fact, I'm genuinely starting to believe that they just turn the cameras on and let him do whatever the heck he wants.
But, either way, it works.
But anyway, this movie in particular, we actually get to see him and Barbossa interact so much.
And I have no idea why it took them this long to do it, because their chemistry is some of the best chemistry I've ever seen.
They act like an old married couple in the best possible way, constantly trying to one-up each other.
What are you doing? No, what are you doing? What are you doing? No, what are you doing?
And it really helps that both of their facial expressions are just amazing. I especially love this one moment with Barbossa, where he looks at one of the comic relief guys and is just like, excuse me? And also, this is really the only movie where we get to see all 4 of the main characters interact with each other for a good amount of screen time. And even better, they actually have chemistry.
I know it's a crazy thought, Disney, but having your characters who have never been on screen together constantly bickering doesn't equal chemistry.
Although, to be fair, out of all the characters, it does feel like Will Turner gets the shaft. Yeah, his motivations are clear. He wants to pull Return of the Jedi and save his father from Davy Jones. But other than that, he doesn't really have much to do. And for some reason, they write in this weird divide between Will and Elizabeth's relationship, which goes nowhere, by the way.
But speaking of Elizabeth, she does actually finally go all in with being a pirate.
I mean, her speech to all of them before the battle is just beautiful. And now, with her being the main pirate lord or whatever, she does actually have a lot to do, especially after she kisses like half the cast. And weirdly enough, literally all of them basically die after that happens. I mean, she kisses Will, he dies. She kisses this one weird random pirate lord dude, I don't know, but he gets axed off. This one random British dude from the last movie, dead. And if you really want to get technical with it, even in the last movie, she kisses Jack Sparrow and he pretty much dies.
Yeah, so the moral of the story, don't go kissing Elizabeth Swann.
And while most of the main cast is really great in the movie, so is the main villain, Davy Jones.
Or main antagonist, I should say. I'll explain later.
But really, this is the best that he's ever been. I thought he already was really strong and menacing in the second film, but now they completely go all in on his character and flesh him out. They really dive deep into the backstory about how he got his heart broken by the goddess of the sea, Calypso. And I'm not even that big of a fan of love stories, but somehow this one between the octopus and Clifford the Big Red God felt like the most real and genuine love story I've ever seen. You can tell that throughout the movie, Davy Jones is just in pain and has lost his mind. Even from his opening scene when he hears the song from the locket and sheds one single tear, it drives him mad. And in one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when they reunite, there's one moment where he seems hurt and wants answers on why it didn't work out between them. And she simply says,
is my nature.
And he looks like he knew she was going to say that, but just didn't want to ever hear it out loud. And they humanize him even more when they literally show him as a human. And how when he cut out and locked away his heart to hopefully never feel love again, he got turned into a monster. Whoever has his heart, he answers to. And when he eventually dies, he falls into the sea, knowing he will forever be with the goddess of it. It's honestly just beautiful.
But I specifically said antagonist because he's not the main villain. Lord Beckett is.
Yes, his motivations are pretty simple. He just wants to wipe out the pirates who are stealing from his trades, but he manipulates Davy Jones so flawlessly, it's just really interesting. Until he eventually meets his demise too. Walking down that destroyed staircase in pure shock because he's used to just business and has no emotional connection to his actions, unlike Davy Jones.
These villains and their dynamic are easily the best of the franchise.
I mean, Barbossa was pretty good, not really anything special. Blackbeard, like the most well-known pirate ever, was somehow really forgettable. And I'm not even going to mention the absolutely wasted potential of literal Javier Bardem as a ghost pirate, which I still don't think is something I'm ever going to forgive them for. But these two just have this certain synergy to them. If Jones is a monster on the outside, then Beckett is a monster on the inside.
I've been talking for way too long. How are you feeling about this now, Ryan?
Wait, aren't you forgetting something though?
Oh, I know. I just need a breather. The thing that Pirates of the Caribbean would be nothing without. Captain Jack Sparrow, and he is by far the best he's ever been in this movie.
Okay, so yes, Jack Sparrow has a very particular weird character to him, which Johnny Depp has gotten to do the exact same shtick multiple times, with different characters by the way.
But here, it's really the first time they do something different with his character.
He's obviously still plain old Jack, don't get me wrong, but this movie, unlike the others, he isn't just that. And let's be real, with the last two films, they really messed up his character. I mean, On Stranger Tides is really just more of the same, and Dead Men, whatever that title was, they pulled a SpongeBob and really dumbed down his character, to the point where everything he did just seemed like it was out of luck. Here, though, he gets to show a side that is rarely ever shown, which is how serious he can actually get. One moment in particular, when Elizabeth Swann sees her dead father as a ghost in the underworld when she thinks it's really him, which, by the way, has to be one of the saddest and darkest Disney scenes I've ever seen.
Somehow even darker than the literal hanging kid in the very opening scene.
But this is really the first time we get to see him get serious, as he tries to somehow explain to Elizabeth that it's not really him. And even better, one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, when they find the dead Kraken. Jack Sparrow and Barbossa, two characters who are usually played together for comedic relief, just have a talk.
And keep in mind, it ties into Jack's main character arc, which is that he strives for one thing: immortality.
Even back in Dead Man's Chest we see this, when he tries escaping from his crew. But since both Sparrow and Barbossa have been lucky enough to technically cheat death, they see the dead Kraken, and it shows them how really nothing can last forever. And we get an extremely deep quote by Barbossa.
You know, the problem with being the last of anything, by and by there'll be none left at all.
Which really caught me off guard actually. But it really shows to Jack just how lonely immortality is. Simply in a conversation between two different people about the value of life. And even better, we get another amazing quote from Jack's dad.
It's not just about living forever, Jackie. The trick is living with yourself forever.
Which, again, makes him question what he really wants in life, as immortality is nothing if you can't still be yourself.
However, I also really like that he doesn't just learn that lesson and immediately change.
In so many movies, characters just learn a lesson and are all of a sudden completely different and better person. But that isn't really how it goes in real life. You can't just learn it, you have to apply it as well.
Which brings me to my final and favorite scene, Will Turner's death.
When Jack Sparrow is about to have everything he wants, he's put in a dilemma when his friend dies. And just admire the look on his face as he has to make that decision, along with Elizabeth begging for Will's life in the background. Yeah, remember when these movies actually had amazing acting? But he sacrifices his one true chance for immortality, which plays perfectly with the title of the film, At World's End. With Beckett purging all the remaining pirates, the age of piracy is coming to an end. And in the words of Arthur Morgan,
Whole world's changing. They don't want folk like us no more.
being a pirate is all he knows how to do, but now it's coming to an end, and he has to adapt to it to survive.
And with all that combined, with probably a few other points I missed, but oh well, that is why Outworld's End is my favorite of the franchise. Well, I still like the first the best.
Yeah, this isn't the best one, as it's still too long and boring for my taste.
Well, that's why I titled this video my favorite and not the definitive best.
Outworld's End, in my opinion, is about as close to a masterpiece as you can get. Yeah, there are some issues, especially with the pacing, but if you can get past that, then you'll have one epic time watching it. And the franchise really should have stopped here. There's so many things, they're at the best they've ever ever been in this movie. And for the finale of the first trilogy, which in my opinion are really the only ones worth watching, then it's about as perfect as you can get.
Well, that's really about it. Hold on, is Dead Men, whatever it is, as bad as Rise of the Skywalker?
Of course not.
Why would you even think that? My bad.